Shemon VII Ishoyahb was Patriarch of the Church of the East from 1539 to 1558. His reign was widely unpopular, and discontent with his leadership led to the Schism of 1552, in which his opponents rebelled and appointed the monk Shimun Yohannan Sulaqa as a rival patriarch. Sulaqa's subsequent consecration by Pope Julius III saw a permanent split in the Church of the East and the birth of the Chaldean Catholic Church. His body is buried in the monastery of Rabban Hormizd near Alqosh. Guardian of the throne and Metropolitan of Mosul, Shemon Ishoyahb was the younger brother of the Patriarch Shemon VI. Throughout his brother's reign, Shemon was his designated successor in Antiquasia. He is first mentioned as Natiquasia in a manuscript colophon of 1504, at the very beginning of his brother's reign. In October 1538, 2 months after the death of Shemon VI on the 5th of August 1538, he is mentioned as Metropolitan of Mosul. It is not clear whether he became Metropolitan of Mosul before or after his brother's death. Patriarch Shemon Ishoyahb succeeded his brother as Patriarch either at the end of 1538 or, more probably, early in 1539. He is first mentioned as Patriarch in a manuscript colophon of 1539. He took the name Shemon VII Ishoyahb. At this period the patriarchal succession in the Church of the East was hereditary, normally from uncle to nephew or from brother to brother. This practice, which had been introduced in the middle of the 15th century by the Patriarch Shemon VII, eventually resulted in a shortage of eligible heirs and in 1552 provoked a schism in the Church. Shemon VII Ishoyahb caused great offense at the beginning of his reign by designating his 12-year-old nephew Nanasho as his successor, presumably because no older relatives were available. Several years later, probably because Nanasho had died in the interim, he transferred the succession to his 15-year-old brother Eliah, the future Patriarch Eliah VI. His opponents further accused him of crimes such as selling ecclesiastical positions, allowing the practice of concubinage, and general intemperance. Schism of 1552. In 1552 a section of the Church of the East, angered by Shemon VII Ishoyahb's misbehavior, revolted against his authority. The prime movers in the rebellion were unnamed bishops of Erbil, Salmus and Adarbagan, and they were supported by many priests and monks from Baghdad, Kirkuk, Gazata, Nisibis, Mardan, Hamid, Hesna, Dikifa and Sit. These were urban centers where there was little respect for the principle of hereditary succession to the patriarchate. The rebels elected Yohannan Sulaqa, the superior of the monastery of Rabban Hormizd near Alqosh, in opposition to Shemon VII Ishoyahb, but were unable to consecrate him as no bishop of metropolitan rank was available, as canonically required. Franciscan missionaries were already at work among the Nestorians, and they persuaded Sulaqa's supporters to legitimize the position by seeking Sulaqa's consecration by Pope Julius III. Sulaqa went to Rome, where he made a satisfactory Catholic profession of faith and presented a letter, drafted by his supporters in Mosul, which set out his claims to be recognized as Patriarch. This letter, which has survived in the Vatican archives, grossly distorted the truth. The rebels claimed that the Nestorian Patriarch Shemon VII Ishoyahb had died in 1551 and had been succeeded illegitimately by Shemon Adena, a non-existent patriarch invented purely for the purpose of bolstering the legitimacy of Sulaqa's election. The Vatican was taken in by this fraud, and recognized Sulaqa as the founding patriarch of the Chaldean Catholic Church in April 1553, thereby creating a permanent schism in the Church of the East. The Vatican only discovered that Shemon VII Ishoyahb was still alive 2 years later, on the 12th of January 1555, shortly after Shimun Yohannan Sulaqa's murder. The Franciscan friar Ambrose Buttigieg wrote to Julius III with the news that Shemon VII was still alive. "Your Holiness will be shocked to learn that, contrary to what Your Holiness, the Most Reverend Cardinals, and the rest of you were told, the old patriarch never died at all, and has recently murdered the said Shimun Sulaqa." Sulaqa was consecrated Patriarch of Mosul in Rome in April 1553 and returned to Mesopotamia towards the end of the same year. In December 1553, he obtained documents from the Turkish authorities recognizing him as an independent Chaldean patriarch, and in 1554, during a stay of 5 months in Amid, consecrated 5 metropolitan bishops. Shemon VII Ishoyahb responded by consecrating 2 more underage members of the patriarchal family as metropolitans for Nisibis and Gazata. He also won over the governor of Ahmadiyya, who invited Sulaqa to Ahmadiyya, imprisoned him for 4 months, and put him to death in January 1555. Shemon's death and succession. Shemon VII Ishoyahb died on Wednesday, the 1st of November 1558, and was succeeded as patriarch by his nephew and Natakursia Eliavi. His body was buried in the monastery of Rabban Hormizd near Alqosh, where his tomb can still be seen, alongside those of several other patriarchs of the Shemon line. His epitaph, published by Voste in 1930, contains a conventional Nestorian profession of faith.